Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles, where today, in this Tier 9 domination battle here on the Northern Lights map, we have a division of 2 Tier 9 heavy cruisers who ain't gonna take no crap from nobody. This, in the Russian Tier 9 experimental heavy cruiser, the Vyazma, is King Didier, and yes, his hit points are supposed to look like that. This is the feature of the 2 experimental ships that were introduced, with the Vyazma being the one, and can't remember the name of the other one. It's something German. Not the Manteuffel, by the way, which is what his division mate is in. We'll cover that in a moment. But these ships start with reduced hit points, which means they get an instant adrenaline rush buff, which is why these guns only have a 22.5 second reload. 6.5 seconds faster than they should be. As well as that particular gimmick, because of course it does, the ship also has a funny button, burst fire, and modified shells. When you activate this, those main gun batteries get a second salvo off with an almost instant reload. And bear in mind that when the fight or flight mechanic, which is the ship starting on half hit points, when that's active, those main gun batteries are 17% more accurate. Now the price for this burst fire is massively reduced range, like nearly 15% shorter main gun battery range and a 50% longer reload. However, there are a couple of factors that you need to bear in mind with that, because a 50% longer reload sounds very, very bad, but you have to bear in mind a couple of things. One, this is a cruiser armed with 16-inch guns. Yes, really. Yeah, I know. And when fight or flight is active, as well as being 17% more accurate, they also have a 15% reload reduction. So, with the funny button active, okay, the range of the guns is reduced to around 13 and something kilometers. But if there are targets to shoot at within that range, and right now there aren't, there is literally no downside to having that funny button active constantly. Because even though this is a cruiser armed with 16-inch guns, you'd expect a cruiser with battleship guns to have a slower reload than a battleship with the same caliber guns, but with the Vyazma that is not the case. Even with the longer reload due to the funny button be active, because it's still only a 30-second reload, which is exactly the same reload as just about every other battleship armed with 16-inch guns that doesn't get to fire them in burst fire mode. And remember, this is not a battleship, it's a cruiser. It's a very big cruiser, but it's a cruiser, which means it has base cruiser accuracy, and then on top of that, with the fight or flight mechanic, 17% more accuracy, with 16-inch guns. And there's the double shot. That Fiji's about to have a very, very bad day. I mean, he's gone undetected, but while the Fiji may be comfortably outside of King Didier's hydro range, and is now shooting at King Didier's division mate, Vivera Capensis there, in the German Tier 9 heavy cruiser, the Manteuffel, it's a German Tier 9 heavy cruiser, and it has German hydro, which is basically like mini radar, except it lasts forever, and it's not outside of his hydro range. And there's first blood. Yeah. I suppose now might be a good time to talk about the Manteuffel, the ship being sailed by the other member of the division. The Manteuffel, like the Vyazma here, is also a very, very heavy cruiser, although it doesn't get 16-inch guns, thank God, the same way the Vyazma does, and it also doesn't get this fight or flight mechanic where it starts off at 50% hit points, and as a result gets a faster reload and better accuracy. It's armed with 305mm guns, but it also has very, very good secondaries. And the unique feature of this line of German very heavy cruisers is they get manual control of the secondaries. And I don't mean the manual control of secondaries that everybody else gets when they spend the relevant captain skill points, where you just right click on a target and then your secondaries just automatically focus that one target down as long as it's within range while you do other things. Oh, hello Brindisi, how'd you like to be citadel from the front? By a cruiser. See those secondaries going? That's the Manteuffel. This is what it does. When I say manual control of the secondaries, and there he goes, he's killed him with the secondaries, you switch to control of the secondaries in the same way that you would switch to control of torpedoes, for example, and you aim and fire the secondaries in the same way that you would aim and fire the main gun batteries. While you're controlling the secondaries, the main gun batteries will point at wherever the target cursor is. Oh, that looks like it's going to be really painful. Oh, actually, not too bad. Could have been a lot worse for both parties. The Manteuffel and the Iparanga that King Didier was shooting at. But yeah, you basically shoot the secondaries in the same way that you would fire the main gun batteries. So while the main gun batteries are reloading, if something is within range of the secondaries, why not switch to and start controlling the secondaries instead? Because your main gun batteries are going to be pointing at whatever you're firing the secondaries at, while you're waiting for them to reload and you're manually controlling the secondaries get buffed. When you're just letting them do their own thing, the same as everybody else's secondaries, they have an 8 kilometer range. When you are directly controlling them, they have an 8.6 kilometer range. Remember, that's the base range. They are also subject to all of the other skills and modules that increase the range and performance of secondary gun batteries. No broadside to shoot at there, so he's aiming high. I feel like if he... Honestly, I don't know, maybe that was the right thing to do, because if he just waited 2 seconds, he would have had a flat broadside to shoot at on the Iparanga, but I don't know exactly how high the Iparanga's citadel is, so I don't know, maybe that was the right thing to do. I'll tell you what else is the right thing to do. Reverse. Because you're sailing out into a crossfire. I mean, these two guys have been playing hyper-aggressively. Look at the map, look at their positions. And it's paying off. I mean, these are definitely two ships that absolutely reward and promote aggressive gameplay, which is kind of brave in a cruiser rather than a battleship. You've got the Vyazma here that starts off on basically no health, but is encouraged to get in close and take advantage of that burst fire mode, which only works when you are within around about 13 kilometers of a target. And then you've got the Manteuffel, which is all about the secondaries. So these are definitely two ships that both encourage and reward aggressive gameplay. But despite their fearsome firepower, they are still just cruisers. So it doesn't pay to be too aggressive. But that's the trick, isn't it? No one went raise, and no one went fold. And honestly, I think they're doing all right. Do you know, I've only just noticed their team hasn't lost a single ship. Although they're probably about to lose the Manteuffel. And they've inflicted 5 casualties on the enemy team. That is pretty impressive. I think they're about to inflict their 6th because that Blucher over... Oh yeah. Oh, okay, a couple of things. First, yes, the Manteuffel's gone down. So that's the enemy team's first kill. And there goes the Blucher. Oh. Does he have anything else within gun range now? Is he going to have to... Oh no, the Iparanga over there is still within funny button range, which is going to be really bad news for him. I mean, burst fire mode active, you've still got a 30-second reload. And here's the kicker. I think we can probably kiss goodbye to the enemy Iparanga. And yep, there it goes. Even when you don't have the funny button active, when there's nothing within funny button gun range and you have to just use this thing like anything else on with 16-inch gun turrets, it's still got a faster reload than an equivalent tier battleship or even a higher tier battleship with the same caliber guns. Oh, and it's more accurate because, you know, cruiser. Where's the logic in that one? What's the point in playing a battleship anymore? I mean, sure, it doesn't have the armor of a battleship, but, well, neither does the Nagato. That's gonna leave a mark. You know, neither does the Nagato, neither does the Schlieffen, neither does the Amagi. And they've all got 16-inch guns, but they don't have 16-inch guns like these. Because when you leave an enemy on less than 6,000 hit points, with a battleship and 2 cruisers closing in on it, it's going to be dead before your guns have reloaded. Plus, there are targets over here. Cruiser-shaped targets that want to get their broadsides spanked. They're very, very lightly armoured broadsides spanked by these 16-inch guns. Even though they're just outside of funny button range, and he only gets to fire the 1 salvo. But hey, it is still just a 22-second reload, which is more or less the reload of the Scharnhorst. And its guns have like half the caliber of these things. Oh, the Delaware. Oh yeah, the enemy team managed to sneak an extra carrier in. Not that it appears to be doing them any good, since they only have 3 ships left. And they've still only sunk the 1 ship on King Didier's team, his division mate in the Manteuffel. How is that Nagato doing? Let me take control of the camera. There, you see, that's what happens when you just assume that the rest of your team are going to finish something off for you. Although that only happens when you ignore it because that's what you've assumed. If you think, yeah, I'm going to get that kill, and you stay focused and aiming at that target right before your guns reload or right after you've pulled the trigger and the shots are in the air and on the way, that's when the friendly torpedo finds and sinks the target that you were waiting patiently to finish off after bitch slapping it for 80% of its hit points with your first salvo. And I honestly do not think that King Didier has too much to worry about from the captain of the Delaware over there. Yes, it is a Tier 9 hybrid battleship aircraft carrier, and yes, it is armed with 16-inch guns. But he's firing high explosive at a cruiser. And that's not the first time. So, yeah, not much use to his team alive. The Surrey has finally taken out the Nagato to the rear. It looks like the Delaware is about to go down. As a monstrous hit on the cargo. Let's just take a quick look to see what his reload is. Wow. And that's with the burst fire active. Remember the burst fire being active? The funny button imposes a 50% penalty on your reload. And even with that active, he's got a 27-second reload while burst firing. When a battleship with these 16-inch guns, without the benefit of burst fire, usually has a 30-second reload. And is far less accurate. Yeah, that seems perfectly legit. That's not hilariously broken at all. Although, you know, it is a high-risk, high-reward strategy. And speaking of rewards, let's just count them, shall we? AA Defense Expert, Confederate, Kraken Unleashed, Strike Team, Shoulder to Shoulder, Brothers in Arms, Coordinated Attack, First Blood, and of course High Caliber. 268,000 damage, 3,100 base experience. Now I'm fairly sure that King Didier doesn't get this kind of result every time he takes the Vyazma out. The Vyazma is a good ship, but we've all seen Vyazmas. Because remember, at the end of the day, while they might look like battleships and they might punch like battleships, they don't take punches like battleships because they are cruisers with 27mm of armour plating fore, aft and on the deck. Which means they just cannot take the kind of punishment that they're capable of dishing out. And we've all seen those Vyazmas that start off with 50% hit points with the fight and flight mechanic active, and then they charge forward and they just become the first one killed, without being any use to their team alive. The trick with this ship, and it's true of every ship, but it's especially true with this ship, is you need to know when to raise and you need to know when to fold. And that's a tricky line to walk, but if you can master it, well, you end up with a chest full of awards and 3,150 base experience. King Didier in the Vyazma and Vivera Capensis in the Manteuffel, both of them driving them like they stole them, and both of them finishing comfortably ahead of the rest of the team on base experience earned. Hope you all enjoyed it, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.